Hello there, good morning and welcome to the WP Builds weekly newsletter. This is number 50 and it's covering the WordPress weekly news for the week commencing the 11th of February 2019, and it was published on Monday the 18th of February 2019. Just a couple of things before we begin. If you wouldn't mind going over to the wpbuilds.com website, be most appreciative if you could do that, because over there we've got a whole bunch of links at the top of the page. The first one is the subscribe link, and if you click on that you can find yourself on our newsletter. We've got a form on there. Join our Facebook group. There's nearly 1900 people in there all talking about WordPressy things. You can obviously use that to subscribe to the podcast and this newsletter on iTunes, Google Play, whatever app it is that you have on your phone. And we'll also send you messenger updates. We've got a YouTube channel and we've got a Slack channel as well, but primarily they're just for sort of updating you as to what we're doing. The other one to mention is webinars. We've got 3 webinars coming up very, very soon. The first one to mention is we've got Oliver Sild from WebArcs, the security plugin. That's this Thursday, the 21st of February. Then a little bit after that, a week later on the 28th of February, we've got Chris Badgett from Lifter LMS, the learning management system. And going into March now, on the 21st of March, we have got Adrian Toby from Groundhog, which is a marketing and CRM tool. Also, I suggest that you go over to the wpbuilds.com deals page /deals, and you'll be able to get a whole bunch of money off some WordPress products: Project Huddle, Groundhog, If So, WP Ultimo, Beaver Team Pro, Main WP, Blog Vault, Malcare, Toolset, Widget Options, and WP Security Audit Log. They're all there. And also a suggestion would be if you wanted to go and check out the contribute episodes. If you go to wpbuilds.com /contribute, you can check out the 8 ones that we've got on there. But I'm really looking to get as many people on as possible. It could be you if you've got something you want to tell us about, some little thing that you did, some ingenious creation or invention that you've come up with, anything to do with web development and the WordPress space. Come on and tell us about it, and I'll go through it with you on a screencast. And the very last one, I suppose, is /advertise. Be most appreciative. Keeps the lights on WP Builds. It allows us to keep doing these things. /advertise, and we've got banner ads, and we have audio inserts as well. And if you feel able to, please go to iTunes and give us a rating. 5-star obviously would be most appreciated. The WP Builds is brought to you today by Kinsta. Are you tired of unreliable or slow hosting? If so, check out Kinsta, who takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, all their plans include PHP 7, SSH, and 24/7 expert support. Migrate today for free at kinsta.com. Okay, let's get stuck into the main news items for today. We've got quite a lot of news, so I'm going to have to go through them very, very briskly, including some non-WordPressy stuff at the end. And the first one to mention is over on the WordPress.org website. It's related to the next item as well. It's entitled WordPress 5.1 Release Candidate. WordPress 5.1 is supposed to be rolling out on the 21st of February, so that's this coming Thursday. And they're testing it out in a beta stage, and if you'd like to get involved with that, head over to the link in the show notes and you will be able to see what that's all about. There's not really a great deal in here aside from the fact that we've got WordPress's site health features rolled in. So yeah, basically if you want to be part of the cutting edge and you want to help get 5.1 release candidate out so that it's not just the release candidate but the official release, then go and check it out. Okay, the next one, this is quite an interesting take. I've not really seen this before. This is on the make.wordpress.org website, and it's actually called WordPress 5.1 Field Guide, and this is Jeffrey Paul, and he's listed out loads and loads of the bits and pieces that have been included in 5.1. So although the last item that I mentioned was talking about 5.1, this gives you a much better, deeper idea of what's going on. As I said, we've got the site health features been rolled in. This is the Serve Happy and Site Health project kind of rolled in. We've got information about what's been changed with the block editor. There's been some rapid improvements since 5.0. So you might want to go and check those out as well. Also, apparently multi-site metadata has been added. I wasn't really too sure about that, but that's been added in. There's information about the cron API. It says WordPress 5.1 includes a change in behavior for cron spawning on servers running fast CGI and PHP version 7.0.16 and above. So if you're running cron jobs and that's important to your plugin or some part of your website, that might be worth checking out. And there's a new JS JavaScript build process as well. Essentially a whole heap of stuff, loads and loads of stuff on this article. So if you are a plugin developer and you're getting into the weeds in 5.1 and you want to know exactly what's changed and how this might affect things for you, then go and click the second link in the show notes. Okay, here we go then. The next one is on the WP Tavern website entitled Gutenberg Blocks Design Library offers pre-built page designs using existing core blocks. We've had quite a few bits, a few plugins and ideas coming down since Gutenberg was released, and in fact before Gutenberg was released. Lots and lots of kind of block libraries, things that you could import, and plugins that enable you to do all sorts of whiz-bang features, a bit like traditional page builders like Beaver Builder and Elementor. This one's slightly different in that it's got everything in there. There's 50 blocks, but they're all leveraging core Gutenberg blocks. So the coding isn't new, really. This is just the styling. So it's completely compatible with every instance of Gutenberg. So if you went over to a new site and you installed this plugin, in theory, everything should just work, whether or not there was a dependent plugin installed. It wouldn't matter. So long as Gutenberg's there, it's going to work. There's a pro plan coming down the pipe, going to be $9 a year per site, but at the moment that doesn't exist. But it's quite an interesting take. Just leverage the core blocks in Gutenberg to make things work. And there seems to be quite a lot of nice stuff in there. And at $9 a year, it doesn't seem too costly. Okay. I like this one, again on the WP Tavern website. It's entitled WordCamp Nordic to host workshops for kids on March the 7th. If you're in that part of the world and you're going over to the new WordCamp Nordic, which is being held in Helsinki, there is a space. Take your kids, because if you book them on, there's 20 spaces for kids between the age of 8 and 14 to be taught about how to use WordPress. This isn't the first time this has happened, but obviously this is a new WordCamp and you may not be aware that you can take your kids if you're going along. It's happened in various places before, apparently in Miami and Phoenix and St. Louis and Cape Town, but interesting bit right at the end of this article about the fact that Facebook apparently is losing market share to a younger audience. Apparently, the younger people of this world believe that Facebook is an app for old people, in inverted commas, and the usage for people under the age of 24 is declining. Now, we don't want that to happen to WordPress, so if we can try to keep WordPress relevant, for younger people, then that's all for the better. So go on, if you're going to WordCamp Nordic, take your kids along and teach them how to use WordPress. It's pretty basic stuff, how to create posts and pages and get it installed and so on, but still fun nevertheless. Okay. This one, again on the WP Tavern, is entitled Speaker Applications Now Open for the second annual JavaScript for WordPress conference, which is on the 11th to the 13th of July 2019. Organised last year by Zach Gordon. This year they are expanding things over 3 days. Go and check this article out. If JavaScript is your thing and you like talking about it, you may well be able to get yourself on as one of the speakers. Great. Okay. The next one is all about Matt Mullenweg. A few weeks ago, he released a TED Talk. It didn't really feel like a TED Talk. It felt more like a video made by TED, because he wasn't stood in front of a crowd. It was very much a studio piece. Because he's got a new site called distributed.blog, which you can go to. And at the minute, there's simply an email form, but that may have changed by the time that you visit it. This article really is all about the fact that he believes that distributed workplaces are the thing of the future, and Automatic is right at the vanguard of this. I believe they've got about 800 employees at the moment, and they are distributed all over the world. He doesn't like to use different words to describe it. He likes to say distributed instead of remote because it doesn't give people the impression that some people are far away and of less importance. Nevertheless, the sort of stuff that Matt Mullenweg is up to is important for WordPress, and I think probably if you're in the digital space, it's good to know all about distributed workforces and how they can be leveraged. So there you go. This is the first of a couple of security related pieces. This one is on the WordFence website. It's entitled Vulnerabilities Patched in WP Cost Estimation Plugin. This one you don't really need to worry about too much, because if you are keeping your plugins up to date, the WP Cost Estimation plugin patched something a little while ago, but this is WordFence's take on how they spotted there was a problem, how they responsibly disclosed it to the developer then fixed it, and all of this took place without anybody's knowledge. But it's about... The article itself is about how the plugin enabled people to upload, how to describe it, ways of getting an htaccess onto your system, and then obviously with the htaccess on your system, they could inject any kind of file onto the system and make it run as PHP, and so they could do essentially whatever they wanted. This has now been patched, but if you are into IT sec and you like reading about this sort of stuff and how it was perpetrated, then this is a nice little article. But go and update that plugin if you've got it and you haven't been updating things recently, for sure. This one comes from the WP Tavern, another vulnerability. It's actually disclosed from WebArcs, who I mentioned earlier we're going to have on a webinar this coming Thursday. This is the Simple Social Buttons plugin. They have had a problem over the last week, and it says improper application design flow chained with lack of permission checks resulted in privilege escalation and unauthorized actions in WordPress installations, allowing non-admin users, even subscriber user types, to modify WordPress installation options from the WP options table, which sounds pretty bad. There are 40,000 users of this plugin, so the advice is simply go and update it, make sure it's all been patched. The article is very short, doesn't really disclose what went wrong or how it went wrong, but just to say, go and update it if you're using the Simple Socials button plugin. Okay, the next one comes from Toolset, the famous purveyor of a plugin which creates the option to create custom post types and views and so on. They've got a few new things this week. The most notable is their form offering, which used to be called Cred, which is now just called Toolset Forms, now has a drag and drop editor. So instead of having to kind of wrangle with the code in the HTML, which was a bit messy, they've updated it, completely new UI. It's a bit like a page builder. You drag fields in, you can drag in a file field or a text field and what have you, and you can make them sit alongside each other so that you don't have to do the CSS manually. It all looks very nice. I've had a play and it works very, very well. A couple of other features they've also added into the view loop index. They've added in version 2.7.3, it now outputs the current posts index, so you can do things like give articles a number in a table and things like that. It sounds like an irrelevance, but it could be quite important. And there's a whole bunch of other things as well, improve conditional display and so on and so forth. So if you've got Toolset, definitely go and update that one, especially for the forms update, which looks really, really good. Okay, here we go. Back to the WP Tavern. This is Ultimate Blocks plugin, adds schema-enabled review block. Not much more to say about this other than that if you use Ultimate Blocks for Gutenberg, there is now a schema-enabled review block. This feature enables you to add schema-friendly reviews so that Google and search engines can pick it up and actually display them as reviews in the search engine pages. So quite a handy little feature if you're after reviews and you're using Gutenberg. Okay, this is an SEO plugin. I confess I've never used it, but there's been a bit of chatter. It came out quite recently, and I'm just pointing you towards it because if you're in the market for an SEO plugin, I've heard some good things about this. It's completely free, and it's called Rank Math, and you can find it over at rankmath.com. I genuinely have nothing more to say about it, just that it's there, it's new, it seems to do a lot, and the people that I've spoken to who have used it are perplexed by how it can be free because it's so very, very good. So there you go. Okay, this one is kind of a long form piece of writing. It's on the more10.com website. It's written by Morten Rand Hendrickson, who's a very famous person in the WordPress space, and it's called On the Corporate Takeover of the Cathedral and the Bazaar. And if you know what the Cathedral and the Bazaar is, you'll know it's all about open source and GPL licensing and so on. And it's just kind of a nice article because he's saying that when open source began, it was all about everybody showing up and everybody having a go. And the thrust of this article is that's really not the case anymore. Only those people who can afford to show up are now able to show up because of the constraints of modern living. Therefore, the corporations are taking control of open source. It's just very thought-provoking. I thought it was worth including today. So if that notion rings a bell with you and you feel that that's something you want to read, go check it out. Okay, this is over at wholegraindigital.com. Fascinating, and it's entitled, If We Can Do It, So Can You. Start measuring your organization's carbon footprint. And of course, you're listening to something consuming electricity at the moment. You've probably got some lights on somewhere and perhaps some heating, depending on where you are in the world. And we all do it. And in the digital world, we're consuming electricity all the time. It turns out that this company are producing just about the same amount of carbon emissions as a whale each year, which is just absolutely stunning. And they go in to talk about is this represented? And most of it is things that you're not even thinking about. It's things like using up energy just by listening to your podcast or having your computer switched on. Perhaps it's having the heating on, but also things like travel, airlines and what have you. And so what they're trying to encourage people to do is think, what is your business's footprint on the environment? And I honestly have never really thought about this. So please go and check this out. I think this is a deeply important thing for everybody in the future, and it gives you ideas about how you can measure it and what things you should be thinking about in the future. Okay, another one to do with Gutenberg. Again, I'm just pointing you at it. It exists. I don't know anything about it. It's a new one called Ultimate Blocks, Custom Gutenberg Blocks. And it says, Ultimate Blocks is a collection of custom Gutenberg blocks for bloggers and marketeers. Our goal is to make it insanely easy for you to create better and engaging content with Gutenberg. And they've got about 20 blocks, and it's all completely free. It's on wordpress.org. So again, if you're using Gutenberg, that might be one for you to look at. The WP Builds podcast this week was called The Client is Always Right, We Just Need Anger Management. And it was David and I talking about how the pair of us cope with clients when they get a little bit out of hand. And do we get angry? Do we suck it up and kind of just swallow our pride and get on with things? So if you like listening to David and I talking about that kind of stuff, there we go. That was what episode 115 was all about. Okay, I've got two stories here, one to do with WordPress and one nothing to do with WordPress, but they're both about artificial intelligence. This one is on the talkmag.io website, and it's called Amazing WordPress Plugins Using Artificial Intelligence. And it just lists out a few bits and pieces used in the WordPress space that are leveraging artificial intelligence to make them work better and to modify them for the future. Things like WordLift, MyCurator, related posts, and onto some more famous ones like Akismet. And it's just interesting to see that artificial intelligence is slowly creeping in so that things are improved incrementally over time without us doing anything. So go and check that article out. But this next one, this is either the most terrifying thing I've read all year or the most amazing thing. I cannot decide. It's about artificial intelligence, and it's called a new fake AI text generator may be too dangerous to release, says creators. The Elon Musk-backed non-profit company OpenAI declines to release research publicly for fear of misuse. Now, I can only describe this as utterly breathtaking. There are some animated GIFs where they type some text, the first few words of a sentence, and then they press carry on, this button, and the AI finishes an entire article that could have been written by somebody based around the first few words. It is astonishingly good. You know, it's kind of the sort of thing that's going to put you and I utterly out of business. So, for example, they write a few words about Brexit and how it's costing the UK economy. And that's all they write, those few words. Then they press go, and it then carries on and writes hundreds and hundreds of other words, all paragraphed, all making sense, with quotes from around the world from real people. Amazing and terrifying at the same time. This next one is on the BBC website. I should say now we've drifted into non-WordPress related items. You'd probably work that out. And here we have Russia unplugging from the internet. It would appear that Russia this week have announced that for a period of time during this year, they're going to unplug everything in their country from the internet. And the whole point is to see if their rival DNS system, which they're building, can cope if they are somehow cut off from the internet. There's nothing more in it really than that, but it's certainly very interesting that this country has decided to take the approach that, okay, if the rest of the world, if we can cut ourselves off from the rest of the world, what will that be like? Can we cope? Okay, over on cnet.com, Amazon wants Alexa to read blog posts and broadcast church sermons. Well, this is interesting. So the idea here is that Amazon is going to be able to not only broadcast things like this, so you'll literally ask Amazon's Alexa to play this podcast, but also it will be able to point to an RSS feed of suitably marked up content, and it will know how to turn all of that text into speech, and it will read blog posts to you. Breathtaking. The internet is now no longer about staring at a screen. It's also about talking to things. So if you're creating written content, you might want to look at this to see if you can have this translated in real time by Amazon, so that your audience can grow in that way. And the very last one this week is all about Firefox. Dear old Firefox. We know it needs some love. Chrome has kind of taken its share, but in order to bolster themselves and be relevant over the years, they've decided to do a bit of a makeover. They've got a new logo and so on and so forth. And I have a soft spot for Firefox. I really, really admire what they're trying to do and how they're trying to do it and the morality behind it. So maybe you should go and look at their nice new logos and see what you think of their new rebranding efforts. Okay, that's it from the news today. I hope that you got something out of that. The WP Builds news is brought to you today by Kinsta. Kinsta takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, your site is secured like Fort Knox and runs on speed-obsessive architecture. You get access to the latest software and developer tools such as PHP 7, SSH and staging environments. And the best part, their expert team of WordPress engineers are available 24/7 if you need help. You can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And we sincerely thank Kinsta for their support and keeping the lights on over at WP Builds. Well, that's it for this week. Come and join us on Thursday for the podcast. Why not sign up for one of those webinars and join us for those as well? That would be great. And I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye for now.